Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Harris. I am the author of Suffering in Silence, and it will be the first book, which is August 15th, 2003, which is the first installment of the actual book. And I'm very glad to share this book with all of you today. And one of the main themes that a lot of young men and older men have actually gone through is the fact that we all do suffer in silence to somewhat of a degree. But many of us don't actually know what that's actually about. So why do people suffer in silence? Why specifically do men suffer in silence? That's the magical question that a lot of people actually want to know. And the reason for that is because of the same cycle. It's drugs, sex, and it's alcohol. And it's those three things that I pinpointed because that's how I live my life. I live my life just, in that vicious cycle of just drinking, smoking, and just having promiscuous sex with anybody that I saw. And it just didn't matter to me, and I just didn't care. So it reflected the character that I wrote about in this fiction book named Ricky Johnson. And Ricky Johnson is a substitute teacher, and his teaching in life is he wants to teach other kids with disabilities, but he can't because he's still lazy and he's still trapped into the three vicious cycles: smoking, drinking, and having sex. And those things are always just basically putting you down in life. And it's funny because in life, we don't actually recognize these things. That self medicating is a thing that a lot of men have actually been doing over the years. You see it in so many movies all the time, in so many television shows, where the main character is actually just self medicating to get rid of the problem. And I've always been a very big introvert, a deep thinker. I don't call myself an intellectual. I really just call myself a regular guy. But after studying mass communications, also studying psychology as well, I've noticed that this is what men do. Men bottle up their emotions because they're afraid. But the reason why they're so afraid is really because, they don't have too many men to talk to, or they just grew up around no man, or most importantly, there isn't a dad in the picture at all, and they're just raised around a bunch of people and they're trying to figure out what is manhood. And unfortunately, here in the States, in the United States of America, around where I'm from, I've seen more men that are victims to suicide and depression and most likely to be anxious. And now it's even gotten even worse because around my demographic of 18 through 26, not too many men are going to college. Not too many men are actually working. Not too many men are actually trying to better themselves in any kind of way, shape, or form. But the problem with it is they're not trying to address the issue by seeking therapy, by seeking counseling, because I know where this is coming from. I didn't have my dad, right? My dad was abusive. 6 years old, little Caleb Harris is seeing his mother about to die because his father tried to kill his mother. And it's one of those things. I could have played the victim. I could have been that guy where I just, try to hurt other people and kill other women, kill other girlfriends that I've had in the past. But I chose not to. I chose to seek therapy. I chose to seek counseling. And it's one of the things like with Ricky, he chose not to do those kind of things. And he lives that self destructive, very chaotic, and just always angry, has a high temper, has a bad drug problem, alcohol problem, and many other issues. And he doesn't want to deal with them because he doesn't think that he's the problem. Now, us as men, we just have to do a better job of recognizing that we are the problem. We do deserve help. We do deserve to be better men, but we have to recognize what the problem is, because if we don't recognize what the problem is, how can we solve a solution? I've never been the kind of guy that just said, oh, let's just keep talking about the problem. I've always said, let's address the problem. That's fine. That's okay. But we need a solution. And if we can't figure out what the solution is, then we just need to stop talking and go back to the game plan. So without further ado, I'm actually going to address uh, a brief synopsis of what I wrote. And this is from chapter 5, page 47. So I'm just going to read you a brief excerpt. Doctor, may I ask you a question? Sure, go right ahead, man. So how do you overcome an abusive past? Finally, my therapist starts to become more serious. He senses that I'm going to talk during the session instead of listening to him babble. Well, who are you talking about here? He asks. My father. Well, he was abusive. Well, kind of. I go on. Well, I mean, since my mom died, I feel like I have to reconnect with him, even though he and I don't get along that well. I barely eat and I can barely function. Why don't you and your father get along? I don't want to talk about it. Can you prescribe me some happy pills or something? so I don't have to think about it? Well, it's not that simple, Ricky. Life is not that simple, my friend. I have a suggestion, though. I respect that you don't feel comfortable telling me about your troubled past with your father, but if you change your mind, I am here to listen. My suggestion is for you to write out every reason so you don't see eye to eye with your father. You could give it to me, you could rip it up, or you could even send it to your father so you could truly feel how he's hurt you. But the choice is yours. I hope this helps. Yeah, kind of. So that was the session from Ricky's therapy. And in Ricky's therapy, he was actually trying to talk to his therapist, Dr. Cornett, about what had actually happened. And here is a brief excerpt of him trying to address the solution. But it's totally up to him to actually see, is he actually going to talk to his father? Is he actually going to address what his father did on August 15, 2003? Or is Ricky going to go back to his toxic cycle and keep blaming everybody else for why he's still the substitute teacher instead of the full-time teacher? And without further ado, I'm just going to wrap up this excerpt. This was Suffering in Silence. Then the first book is August 15, 2003. And the next book will be about Mikey, which is an actual younger student, because Ricky is 27 years old and Mikey will be 15. And the basis of Suffering in Silence is I'm just basically going to be talking about how young men from the age demographic of 18 through 36 suffer in silence. So each character of this 10-part series book will actually be a different character. So you could follow me on Facebook at Caleb Harris. You could follow me at Caleb Hates Cake on Instagram. And you could also just purchase my book, Suffering in Silence, August 15, 2003, on Amazon.com. Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.